session will cover the support available to help you take on an apprentice, including government grants and funding. Also how a training provider works with you and the apprentice, and also the key benefits of having apprentices in your organisation. So to deliver this, I'm delighted to be joined by Dominic Millington, who is the Apprenticeship Recruitment Manager for Leeds City College, and also Tracy Dawson, Managing Director at Dell Tech, which provides high quality, low volume electronic manufacturing services to OEMs. And finally, Simon Hewitson, who is an employment and skills manager in our team, and we also call him our apprenticeship guru. So that's enough from me. I'll now hand over to Dominic, who's going to run through apprenticeships. So I'll stop sharing my screen.
I think I'm on, Maria. Can you see my screen?
Brilliant. I'll mute myself now. Thanks, Dominic.
Yep, no worries. Morning, everyone. So as Maria said, I'm Dominic from Leeds City College. I'm the Apprenticeship Recruitment Manager, so I kind of deal with everything from a learner and business kind of side of things, from the initial inquiry all the way to when we get them enrolled and the training started with the assessment team there. So I'm going to run through apprenticeships, but it is only a 10-minute slot, so it's going to be quite a broad overview of what we do and what's of a benefit to yourselves. And then obviously I'll be sticking around at the end for the Q&A as well. So in terms of Leeds City College, just a bit of background on what we do. So we are one of, if not the largest offering of training provider offering apprenticeships within Leeds City region. But I think we only hold about 6% of the market share. So you can see the vast array of training providers that are available to support you. There's people who specialise within certain industries, but us at the college, we are lucky enough to have the facilities to offer a wide range of apprenticeships available to employers. So I've listed a few that we do offer within the sectors that your businesses function within on this slide here, but I've also provided a link at the bottom. So we offer over 100 different apprenticeships, but there's over 700 available standards that can be delivered to businesses. So if something isn't on this list, or if you're looking for something very specialist or something a bit different, if you click the link when the slides are sent out to you at the bottom of the page, you can do a quick search and that will bring up everything that is available apprenticeships wise that matches your keywords. From there as well, it can also match you up with training providers. It can provide you with assessment plans. So it's a really useful tool for you as employers to make sure that you kind of understand the apprenticeships that are out there and what might best fit with the roles that you're either trying to fill a vacancy for, or you're trying to upskill your staff from there. So in terms of what makes an apprenticeship then, so if any of you are new to apprenticeships and not sort of had one for the past couple of years or so, in a short version, they are work-based learning programs. So they are learning programs for candidates to undertake whilst working, but also attached to a training provider such as ourselves at the college to deliver a knowledge aspect and some training alongside that. So the apprenticeship standards break down into 3 key areas for apprentices, and that's your skills, your knowledge and behaviour. So the skills, what they can do, the knowledge, what they know, and the behaviours, how they act in the workplace within that role. So each skill, knowledge and behaviour is mapped to the apprenticeship standard that you select for that job role and is specialist to that area. What that means is that we can A, tailor the training around the job role that you're offering and make sure that it fits not only the apprentice but the business need as well, and B, it's actually up to date and useful knowledge and not just giving them an MVQ that was designed 20, 30 years ago. So for an apprenticeship to work, it does need to have an input from 3 main parties, and those main parties are yourselves as employers, us as a training provider, and the apprentice who is being enrolled onto the programme. So in terms of the employer, the kind of key things that you need to be aware of is that you need to make sure that the job role fits the apprenticeship standard that you wish to undertake. One of the most key pitfalls that we have when employers are trying to take on apprentices is that trying to make a standard fit a job role that is nothing to do with it. So we have people working in an office and they want to work towards a laboratory scientist apprenticeship. It just does not work that way. If you are looking to get an apprenticeship standard set up, you need to make sure the job role fits around that. But if you are new to apprentices, the training provider should be able to guide you through that. So if you say, this is the job role we have available, what apprenticeship standard would fit that best. Your training provider will then be able to match that up for you. So it's not all on you doing the matching. Your training provider will be there to support through that. Throughout the programme, the staff must at least be paid the apprenticeship minimum wage, which is currently £4.15 per hour, and that's for 30 hours plus per week. So that is the responsibility from the employer. In terms of wage paying, we sometimes get the question of whether we pay that as a training provider, but no, it does come from the employer. So I'm going to talk about funding of the actual training programme in the next slide, but the wage itself is from you as an employer, so they would have to be paid by yourselves. And what we usually say is £4.15 is the minimum, but obviously if you're attracting quality candidates, you need to make sure it's competitive in the job market. So if there's other training positions out there that are advertising for maybe £6-7 an hour for a similar role, and you're wanting your role to be competing with them, just make sure that you kind of think about that sort of stuff when you're putting the advert out with your training provider. So there are two things there. And then the other thing that you need to be aware of is that your apprentice needs to log 20% of their contracted hours by the end of programme as off-the-job training. Now, if somebody's working full-time, that equates to about 1 day per week, which usually strikes fear into employers when you say it like that, because they think that they can't give up a member of staff for 1 day per week. But off-the-job training covers a wide spectrum of tasks and activities. So when they're shadowing new skills with your current staff, when they're with us at college, when they're with their assessor meetings, all of that contributes to that 20%. So your training provider will give you kind of a scheme of learning to make sure that that fits with your business and is also tailored around your peak times. So we offer different training schedules depending on different industries. So in some industries, they have a flux in summer or a flux at Christmas of business. So we don't do any training intensively over that time. And then we cram it in a time when it's quieter for that business as well. So we'll work around you to make sure the training schedule fits your business need. So the training provider then, and what we should be offering there. So training that's meeting the skills, knowledge and behaviour of the standard and preparing the apprentice for their endpoint assessment. And this can be delivered through a mixture of both on and off-site delivery. So what I mean by that is that all apprenticeships will include work-based visits. So that will be where an assessor comes out to your business and they will sit with your apprentice and sometimes yourselves as well and run through what training needs to happen and how we're going to implement that moving forward. But it can also involve a day release aspect or a block release aspect. So what that means is that 1 day per week or for 3 weeks out of a set amount of time, your apprentice will come down to college and that will be where they get some knowledge-based training as well. So your training provider will be able to provide you with lists of how their standards are delivered to make sure that you pick the one that best suits your business needs. So if you can't afford for an employee to come to college 1 day per week because you need them on site, then you need to make sure a provider can deliver something completely in the workplace for you. So these are the sorts of things you need to think about when you're having your initial conversations with your providers to make sure that their training style meets your business need. So alongside that, every 8 to 10 weeks, a progress review will take place. So that's a chance for the employer, the learner, and us as a training provider to sit down and kind of say how everything's going. Are they on track to complete on time? Are there any issues that we need to iron out? So every 8 to 10 weeks, your feedback is kind of crucial to make sure that training program is worth the time and the money that you are putting into it as an employer. And then finally, obviously, we need the apprentice to engage. So we need to make sure that they are willing to undertake the role outlined by the company from the start of programme. So if they are a new member of staff, obviously they'll start on basic tasks, working their way through to more advanced tasks as the apprenticeship progresses. Or if they're an upskilling member of staff, we'll make sure that the training tailors around what they already know and what they've done previously to make sure that they're not covering ground they've already done. And alongside that, obviously, they do need to make sure they log their 20% paid contracted hours as off-the-job training. So that will be their responsibility to make sure that is logged, as we cannot achieve them without them working towards that 20% there. So they're the three main components that make an apprentice. So it's the employer placement and the job role that meets the standard. It's the training provider making sure that the training meets the standard and is working for the business and apprentice need. And it's the apprentice making sure that they work and are willing to contribute to that apprenticeship, and it works alongside their ideas for a career goal from there. So in terms of benefits and funding then for the apprenticeship, the funding will break down into 3 different sections depending on your business situation and the apprentice that you do hire. So if you are a larger company, it's most likely that you are a levy company and you will be aware that you're a levy company. If you are that, all of the training funds will come from the levy fund. So we will link with you as a provider and start to draw down those funds on a month-by-month basis. But you'll be aware of that, and the training provider will be able to help you set that up. If you're a sort of medium-sized business, it will probably be a co-investment function. So if you're not a levy company, you would fit in either to co-investment or fully funded. So for co-investment, anyone over 50 employees hiring any apprentice will pay a 5% charge of the total training cost of the apprenticeship. So if the standard cost £10,000, you as a company would be willing and obviously liable to pay £500 of that to cover that cost. The other 95% will be funded by the government for you. So it is just that 5% cost you will cover, and your training provider will be able to break that down for you throughout the programme. So it could be 5 payments of £100, for example. If you're a smaller company, so an SME with less than 50 employees, and your apprentice is 16 to 18 years old at the start of the apprenticeship, the training will be fully funded. There would be no cost to you as a company whatsoever. It will be fully funded by the SFA, and we will draw all of the money down from them, and you'll be exempt from any funding from that. On top of that, there is a couple of grants available at the minute that can give you a bit of a cash incentive alongside that. So any employer who hires a 16 to 18-year-old apprentice, regardless of size, so even your levy paying companies, are eligible for a £1,000 grant, which is paid at month 3 and month 12 of the programme in £500 instalments. And it's there to help cover training costs and things like that, and staffing wages when they're out with us at college. So that's a good amount of money to kind of cover if you are doing a co-investment. It will negate most standards costs there, and obviously leave a bit left over as well with the £1,000. Alongside that, there is a grant available at the minute that is running for any apprentice that is recruited and starts in your payroll from August to January. You can claim up to £2,000 on top of the £1,000 incentive that I've already spoke about. So in total, if you recruit a 16 to 18-year-old apprentice between now and the end of January, and they're on your payroll and they're enrolled, you as an employer are eligible for an extra £3,000 incentive to take them on, which will go a long way to help cover those additional costs of recruiting staff that you might not get elsewhere. But the benefits aren't just about the grants that they do put in. So 78% of our employers found that productivity actually went up when they took on a new apprentice, and that's because they got to train them from the ground up. So they are trained in line with those company standards rather than bringing someone in who's worked at other companies. And we also found that 90% of our apprentices actually stay at the company after they've finished the programme. So instead of investing all that time in training someone and they leave, 90% of apprentices actually stay on with you. So if you look at your recruitment numbers, the recruitment service is free. You keep your staff retention, they're trained in the way that you want them. It is a much smaller outgoing than if you were to hire a staff through a recruitment agency with a bit of experience alongside that. So then finally then, just to kind of cover the main bits that your training provider should offer and support you with whilst you're on programme. So when you link with a provider, these are hopefully the things that they will match up with, and these are the things that we do at the college. So they should provide you with a qualified assessor with up-to-date industry knowledge and experience to support your apprentice throughout the programme. So our assessors actually go back into industry every 2 years to make sure that the knowledge they know and they're imparting on your apprentice is up to date, and it's not stuff that has been outdated. Within manufacturing, with things like robotics and automation coming in, you need up-to-date knowledge to make sure it fits in line with the businesses and the way they're moving forward as well. Us at the college, we offer a free recruitment service. So if you're looking for us to do all of the recruiting for you, find a vacancy, advertise the vacancy, find candidates, sift them, only send over suitable ones to you. You can completely get that free of charge from the college and hopefully other providers as well. If you do go a different way of somebody who was offering, they'll give you a dedicated business advisor to make sure they can help you out with any technical bits and bobs, such as getting your subcontract sorted with your apprentice, reserving ESFA funds on the DAS site, using your levy account. All of that will be supported by your training provider. And with us at the college, you'll have a designated one person to contact about all of those bits and bobs. They've got specialist knowledge of the apprenticeship standards to make sure you're matching your job roles to the correct standards, so that doesn't all fall on you. And as I've said previously, there'll be a flexible training program to not only support the apprentice in their career goal, but to make sure it supports the needs of your business as well, because we're here to support your apprentices, but we're also here to make sure the skills gaps are being filled for your companies, and that what you're using them for is helping your productivity and your business continue to grow. Okay, so then I've just put a few useful links on there that you might find if when you get the slides through, if you want a bit more information. So information on the grants is the top link. Your apprenticeship funding rules, so if you want to have a look about what you can and can't get funding for, that's the second link down. The link to the Institute's website, so all of the list of apprenticeship standards that I've spoke about are all on there, and you've got the main government apprenticeship page as well. I've also listed my contact details, so if you're wanting to use us as a provider or not, I'm here as an impartial guider to say whether or not the college offering it fits what you're after, or who locally might be able to offer that to you and help you out. So you've got my email address there, and you've got my mobile phone number. So when the slides are out to you, if you do want to have a bit of a chat afterwards, please do just let me know. And that's about it from me. Hopefully that wasn't too much of a whistle-stop tour, and some of the information was useful to you, but I'll be about in the Q&A afterwards if there's any questions from that.
Lovely, thanks Dominic. Before you go, I have a question actually. You mentioned about the training being flexible. Does that mean if, for example, you've got the list of the manufacturing standards on one of the first slides, if a business is looking at the standards and they don't quite fit like their job roles, is it possible to work with you to, you know, to make it fit?
So we have a few apprentices who might not cover all of the standard, but then what we do is try and fit the bits they don't do into the college time. So anything that's missing within the company, they'll have evidence of learning because it'll be in the college part there. So the standards are pretty open and pretty open to interpretation, but we will work with employers to make sure that matches what they're after.
Brilliant, thank you. Right, so I'll share my screen again. And then now we'll move over to Tracy Dawson from Dell Tech Electronics. So over to you, Tracy. Oh, you might just need to unmute.
Apologies. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to talk to you today from two aspects. The first is the Leeds Manufacturing Festival, and the second is our experience at Dell Tech with our apprentices. So the Leeds Manufacturing Festival is organised by the Leeds Manufacturing Alliance, which I'm the chair of, and we are trying to introduce young people to our wonderful world of manufacturing. There's been a decline in recent years from young people coming into our industry, you know, the fear of the flat cap and the clogs and getting very dirty because you're making something. You know, the cool stuff is all about software and it doesn't seem as exciting to be in manufacturing. And we're very aware the sector needs to be future-proofed. If we're going to continue to be successful, then we have to bring young people into our industry. So part of that, in the last 2 years, we've been involved in bringing schools together and bringing our companies together. So through factory tours, going out and doing career panels, etc., which has been incredibly successful. This year, of course, is a mega challenge because we can't get out there and we can't go into schools. So we are doing the same as Maria has set up here, a lot of virtual events. And that is proving very successful. The biggest problem that we see is that manufacturers are struggling to get to the apprentices because previously it was quite easy, we could get into the schools. Of course now, because the schools have been closed, because there have been issues around the whole COVID incident that clearly is going to continue, then we have to be a bit more innovative about how we approach young people. There's a fear that there's not very much going on in manufacturing. You're stuck in a shop floor, and that's not the case. The case is, as you all know, there are lots of careers, and we want to bring young people into our companies to be able to future-proof and make our sector more successful. And how can we do that? We can do that in lots of ways. One of them is seminars like these that give us the knowledge of apprenticeships. And the other is to actually connect with young people. So we have a website, the Leeds Manufacturing Festival website, which shows you the career panels and what we're doing this year. And we are joining with a number of schools because they are still very interested in careers for their students. So they still want us to be involved. It's just finding a way to do that. And the Leeds Manufacturing Festival is a conduit, and it's a channel that they can use, and we can start to look at young people. As far as Dell Tech is concerned, you know, we manufacture electronics. So this sort of stuff. Because it sounds very dry, and we put components on boards for variety of industries. So all our customers are original equipment manufacturers and have electronics in their products. So historically, we've always had a problem because the people that are coming from university and college, and particularly in the last sort of 5 to 10 years, do not have the hands-on skills to manufacture these products. So they come to us, and I'm sure all of you will acquaint with this, and can't use screwdrivers, or, you know, can't use drills. You know, a classic was somebody who was using a screwdriver in reverse, you know, that sort of stuff. So what we wanted to do was bring people in that could manufacture these very specialist products and understand them, and have the electronic knowledge, and look at careers within our industry. We have used actually a number of providers over the years. At this moment in time, and actually I'm not just saying this, it sounds like I am, one of our best apprentices has actually been through Leeds City College. And I think it's because the communication is great. I think it's because there is such a pool of students, and such a passion towards apprenticeships, that actually you get people in your building that want to do the job. And we found that in what we're doing, and the particular apprenticeship is a young girl, Abby, who's come in as electronic production. Girls in tech is unheard of, especially in production, so that's really exciting in itself. But the whole wraparound was so easy. It was such an easy process. So we approached Leeds City College and explained what we were looking for. They came out and talked to us about, and could see the job we were looking at. So we were able to choose an apprenticeship course that was actually valid and would be useful, as opposed to, I have had experiences with other providers where they're trying to make it fit and it doesn't quite fit. And those are always unsuccessful, or in my experience anyway. So Abby goes out to college one day a week. She goes to Leeds City College, and she's doing a really good job. Now, at first, of course, it is a problem. You're employing somebody for 4 or 5 days, and they're only working, you know, 3 or 4. But the advantage is that she is learning and she's progressing. So we're having great communication with the college in terms of her progress and how she's doing. Of course, the problem is clearly we can't have tutors here, and we can't see them on site. But the fact that we're having these meetings and we understand her progress has meant that during the period when actually she could have done nothing, because we did furlough her for a while, then the college were at the back of her and making sure she was progressing, and that was really important. The fact that we are trying to create a position and positions that will future-proof the company means that we need really good candidates in here, and a lot of it is around about, and you'll know this, it's about their attitude. We can teach you all the skills, but we need the right attitude. And we've found that generally this, you know, the students from the college have a better attitude, and maybe it's just because they're recruited in a better way. I don't know. But I do know that if you get an apprentice who isn't just saying the words they think you want to hear. You can see it in their eyes when they walk around. You can see it when they're talking about what they're doing or looking at what's available. You can see that they're interested. And we have had 2 or 3 apprenticeships that clearly they weren't very interested. And as you know, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's really important that that recruitment is absolutely bang on to start with, and that once you've got them in the building and they're learning your ways. The other great thing about bringing young people is they're not bothered about tech. You know, I've got old engineers that are really bothered about using new software. Our young apprentices aren't bothered at all. They can do it stood on their head. So they're bringing skills in, even though they don't realise it. I think the part about recruiting is super important. The training provider and making sure that the course fits what your company is also incredibly important. And I think that the Leeds Manufacturing Festival offers a gateway to what could be available, because clearly there is a problem this year, much greater than other years, in terms of communicating to young people and how are we going to get them there and how are we going to get them into our companies. We can't do factory tours. So that's really important, and it gives us as employers that gateway to get to these young people and showcase what we do. So it's not, we don't just do manufacturing. Obviously, we've got all the rest of it going on, which is sometimes hidden and people don't realise that we've still got accountancy and sales and marketing and all the other stuff that goes on, all within our manufacturing businesses. And we need to promote that and make sure that young people are aware that they have opportunities. I love manufacturing. I love the fact we make something. I just think it's marvellous. So you can see my passion about that, and I want young people to have the same passion around that, to be doing a job that they love. And this is a way that we can encourage young people. There's so much in the press at the moment that young people are unemployed and there's no jobs. There will be. We are at the moment future-proofing and looking forward. We'll come out of this, but we need to have planned to come out of this. I've just got to chat it. Absolutely, we keep our apprenticeships, our apprentices in the organisation. That's the whole point of bringing them in. The point is that we want to bring people in that are going to carry on with Dell Tech, so that in 30, 40 years, these apprentices will be the directors of the company and will be running our company. And they then will bring apprentices in. That's really important to us. It's got to be about a long-term gain, not just in the here and now. And of course, young people are the future really for us. And we've got to find the right... It worries me that there's so much press about people being really young people not wanting to work, etc., etc., etc. I don't think that's the case. I think they just need to be shown. They have too many opportunities. You can do anything you want. Well, actually, here you can do anything you want. It's with manufacturing, and here are the careers you can have. If we can showcase that to them, then I think that we will have we'll be in a much better place to future-proof manufacturing. So before I bore you to death with my passion, I'll be hanging around for the Q&As, and if you have any questions, of course, just drop them into the box. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tracy. That was really useful. Thank you. And you hit the nail on the head about future-proofing it for the long term, definitely. Can I just ask you one question before we do move on to Simon? I think we've probably got quite a few people on the call that have never had an apprentice before. So what would your top tip or advice be for them when they take on their first apprentice?
I think the absolute key is in the recruitment, and don't rush into it. Don't rush for the first apprentice. Have a number of them and recruit in a way you would for any other job, because this is long term, and I think that is absolutely paramount. I think the other point is the training provider. Make sure that you have a good relationship with them and that they understand your company. They're not just trying to get an apprentice, they're not just trying to get the numbers in. That's equally as important.
Thank you. Right, so we'll now move over to Simon Hewitson from Employment and Skills at Leeds City Council. Thanks, Simon.
Thanks, Maria. Good morning, everyone. I'll be very brief. We've only got the one slide. I'm just going to outline a little bit about our service. So you've heard from two speakers this morning, and hopefully they've inspired you to consider taking on an apprentice. If that's the case and you are thinking about taking an apprentice, then we can help. We offer a free and impartial recruitment and advisory service. Because it's free, there's absolutely no charge for what we do, and because it's impartial, we genuinely have no vested interests in what we might suggest for you. It's about trying to help you find the right person and the right solution for your company. So what can we do? First of all, we can offer general information and advice about apprenticeships. We can explain how they work and what they involve, and organise events like the one you're attending today, so that you can find out more about apprenticeships and you truly understand what they're all about and how they might benefit your organisation. We can put you in touch with a range of suitable training providers. You've heard from Dominic this morning from Leeds City College, and as Dominic said, they offer a wide range of different types of apprenticeships. But it might be that you're offering something that is particularly unusual, a kind of niche training, and Leeds City College might not offer that particular type of training. So we can find training providers for you. We can help identify ones that might be appropriate, and we can broker introductions with a range of different training providers for you. If you need help, we can help you to create job and person specifications. Training providers will usually do that for you and help you create job adverts. But if you wanted our help, we can do that as well for you. Once you've got your job vacancy or your apprenticeship vacancy up and running and it's ready to go, then we can help you advertise and promote that. And we have really good range of contacts across the city in all the high schools, in the colleges and the universities, and we can target named individuals in those organisations with your vacancies, and usually they will do something with them. For example, the high schools, we've got contacts in all the high schools, they will put them onto their intranet systems, and they will make sure that they're sent out to young people that they know are looking for that kind of work. So we've got a really good distribution system. We do have a distribution list as well, so we can mail vacancies directly to individuals and to organisations who've told us that they're looking for apprenticeship vacancies. There are dozens and dozens of organisations across the city that are on that distribution list. So your vacancy gets a really good circulation. We'll also send vacancies into all the council job shops that are situated across the city. These are job shops where we have a range of staff who are working with job seekers, and they're always very keen to take our vacancies so that they can advertise them to the job seekers that come through the doors. And speaking of that, we have recently recruited a range of employment hub advisors who now carry caseloads of job seekers who are job ready and actively looking for vacancies. So again, we'll send your vacancies to them. So what I'm trying to say is that your vacancy will get a really good circulation across the city if you send us the details. We can also provide you with information, up-to-date information on funding and grants. And Dominic did mention some of the financial incentives that are available. One thing that struck me was, as he was talking, he didn't talk about some of the grants and incentives that are available to recruit older candidates. He concentrated on 16 to 18-year-olds, but there are some financial incentives to recruit 16 to 24 and 25 plus. So apprenticeships aren't just for younger people if you had somebody older in mind. Something else that is also worth mentioning is you'll see on the slide there, there's a Levy Match Leads website. This is a new website that we've created to help with funding. So Dominic mentioned that you might have to pay a 5% contribution if you're a smaller business. So you might have to pay 5% of the training costs. The Levy Match allows levy companies to register on that website with unused funds that they want to spend. If they don't spend them, then they lose them. So this gives those levy companies an opportunity to pay the 5% that you might have had to pay if you were a smaller organisation. So if you're interested in that, all you have to do is go onto that website, register your details, and then we will try and find a levy funder to match you with, so that they would fund your apprenticeship training costs in entirety and it wouldn't cost you anything. So it's really easy to do. You just log on to levymatchleads.co.uk and put in your details. One last thing for me to say, if you have general vacancies and not just apprenticeship vacancies, then we also offer a free recruitment service as well. Again, it's free of charge. We'd appoint somebody to work with you as a dedicated account manager to get to know you and your organisation and to work with you to fill your vacancies. So it's not just about apprenticeships. But that's a really quick whistle-stop tour of the kind of services that we offer. And I think the next slide that Maria is going to bring up has our contact details available for you. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks, Simon. We've just put the Levy Match link in the chat box as well if anyone wants to have a look at that. So I'll just stop recording and then we'll move to the Q&A. I'm not sure how to stop recording.